Every creator that crushes knows how to get the right attention. Some creators feel like their content is invisible, no matter how many hooks they try or ways of presenting their books, their videos, their podcasts, nobody ever sees it, while others just seem to effortlessly gain attention and engagement. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what the Neigborhood Peacock, yes, you heard me right, taught me about attention as a creator. It's frustrating to put work out in the world and feel overlooked, and without attention, you can't build that sustainable creative business. So what if you could attract attention by simply being yourself and back it up with depth? So in today's video, we're going to learn how to be yourself to attract attention, and stick around for the 3 ways to stand out as a creator and the story about the most attraction-getting bird that I know in my neighborhood. And you're going to want to be sure to listen to the end for one tactic that can really help you show up authentically as yourself in the things you create. Welcome to Creators That Crush, the show that helps you move from crushed to crushing it as a content creator. I am your certified high performance coach and host, Shawn Buttner. We have a peacock that lives on our block, and this peacock goes by many names. Some people call him Kevin, and most people do. Some people call him Bob. My wife Ashley and I call him Fancy because to us, he looks like a fancy chicken. And it's been a really great unifier on the block, so I'm going to be talking about Fancy like he's my worst enemy today. And I just want to let you know that this is me just being a little bit frustrated that he's so effortlessly able to get attention. Because if we look at the stats, I have been in content creation for 10 years, making newsletters and YouTube videos and social media posts to support my coaching business. Fancy has lived in my neighborhood for 2 years. He lives in a tree, so he doesn't own any property on the block. He just, decided to move here, and doesn't have any social media accounts. And I feel like he has a stronger social media presence without any accounts than I currently do, having done this since social media was created. And, more people talk about Fancy in the neighborhood and the town. I think he's made national news than know who the hell I am and the stuff that I do. So here's the reality, right? To back this up, last week, my wife and I went to a folk music show in the town next to us, and as we're chatting before the concert, while waiting for the performers to start, the people in front of us pull out their phone. This lady pulls out her phone in this dark amphitheater, and on this phone is Fancy the bird, and she's talking about the bird that lives in the neighborhood in my town. And so this bird, without having any social media presence, has pictures on the internet that people are sharing willingly because they think it's so cool. And so I'd love to have a piece of content that did that well, or that I was cool enough that people felt compelled to show off my work as a creator. But it doesn't stop there, right? Other signs to show you how effective this bird is at getting attention and getting the world to rally around him is we have 4 street signs marked Peacock Crossing on the street. And we have 0 Shawn Crossing signs marked on the street, right? We have a local ice cream shop that has Fancy snack ice cream with his favorite foods, peanut and blueberry flavors, right? There's peanuts and blueberries in the ice cream in Fancy's honor. I have yet to have ice cream or a sandwich named after me. So here's what we can learn from this experience is there is a way to put 0 effort into getting attention in the world and be highly successful. So many creators are trying 1,000 things at a time, cycling through tactics and ideas and strategies, and don't ever spend enough time on one, right? And Fancy's one strategy is to just be himself, right? To be the fancy chicken on our street that people love to talk about and share and support, And so how can this peacock, how can Fancy teach us to do the same as creators? And I just want to point out too that by talking about him here, I've fallen into his plan, and this is why I hate social media guys. Right? So let's talk about what does Fancy do right to get attention. Number one, it's effortless. He's not putting any effort, which makes him inherently cool, right? It's always the people that aren't trying to do the thing that get attention for it that we think is cool. So he's, is fantastic there. He's been able to go viral without having any social media accounts, right? And he's done this by being himself, right? He is just novel. Like, he shouldn't live on our street, but he does. And he's really endeared himself to the neighborhood, and people are always talking about him, or people stop their cars to like watch him climb his tree at night. Like, it's a ritual now. It's really kind of weird, but really fun. And so, but he's just doing his thing, right? He's a peacock. He's got pretty feathers. There's a creator that I really respect, Jay Klaus, was recently on a podcast, and he talked about how when he was starting with his newsletter, which is kind of the base of his creator business, he had to let go of any expectations of how things would perform or how monetarily they would change. And he just had to trust that doing the work and doing his thing in his style and manner would eventually get people to notice him, the right people to notice him, and then want to join in on the thing, right? And so I feel like I've been a victim of this myself, where you see successful creators online, you try to copy what they're doing, and at the end of the day, you lose yourself in that process, right? You lose the joy and fun of creating the thing because it's not in your voice, it's mimicking somebody else's. And it's also, it just doesn't feel great, I feel there's a push for people to just copy other creators, and we need to be embracing what's unique about you, right? So it's all about being yourself, in the case for being yourself as a creator. So I guess the question for you is, what does that look like for you? If you were to think about what you're doing as a content creator right now, like, how does that really resonate with you as a person? Or how does your personality or experiences show up in that? And have they been? I think if you looked at the last 3 things that you created and you scored yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, did my personality, my experiences, my stories show up? 10, absolutely. 1, not at all. What would you rate yourself? And why would you give yourself that rating? And I think that reflection could be really helpful. But anyways, let's talk about what Fancy does wrong as a creator, right? He is all attention grabbing and no transformation after that, right? It's not like if you see him or you talk about him or you're, engaged in people admiring him, your world doesn't change. You don't suddenly think that, you are more confident. You don't get healthier. At the end of your life, you're not going to be like, hey, where are the kids? And, oh, that one time I saw that peacock on that street, that was cool. Like, there's no transfer, there's nothing that sticks after the attention. So there's no business, right? And so many creators, I think, that get crushed by their businesses are this way too. They are so into creating creating videos or content that grabs attention and maybe entertains, but there's no heart in it afterwards and no way to help people advance in life. Hey, it's Shawn, and if you're stuck or unsure on how to align your content with your best self, book a free 30-minute strategy call with me. This is an invitation to hop on a 30-minute call with me to diagnose what's blocking your momentum and to map out a breakthrough plan. And we do this through the high-performance coaching process that I'm certified in. So I know this works, and I just want to get to know you guys a bit more, and I want you to break through, and I want you to succeed. So if that sounds like a plan to you, if you're interested in that, go to ShawnButtner.com. You'll see a button to sign up for the 30-minute strategy session. You fill out 3 quick questions, schedule a time, and away we go. And I'm doing this especially for people who listen on the podcast because you guys rock. Basically, I'm throwing shade at Fancy because he doesn't have a coaching program or a book to sell. His focus on getting attention, which is very important to a peacock, led him to poor life decisions, right? So I know this is a sick burn on a bird, but he's lonely, right? He spends all his time showing off his feathers to anyone that'll look at him, and I mean literally anyone that'll look at him. And he never asks the question of, are there peahens that live on this street, right? He's been here for over 2 years, and he squawks all the time. And you probably have heard him a couple times in the background while I'm recording this. And it's because it's really sad. He's lonely. And there's just no other peacocks or peahens or pea people or whatever you want to call them living on the block. And so all the attention he's getting leads to misery and sadness for him, loneliness for him. And where are you doing that in your creative endeavors? Where are you focusing attention on that is leading to the wrong outcomes in your life? If you want to find a partner, are you spending all your time locked in your office or apartment working on stuff and not talking to people? That's a quick example, right? So we need to make sure that if you're going to crush it as a creator, that you are focusing on lifestyle and focusing on how you help people transform. So that's what Fancy does great and not so great at getting attention or as a creator. And so I wanted to end this on 3 ways you can stand out as a content creator, right? And I think we need to focus on communities, relationships, and experiences is the first one. So it's the people side of what we do, especially in a world of AI where it's very easy to create content, right? So a lot of the things that I'm talking about here, you can find out from other people, but nobody else has a frickin' peacock living on their street as a way to tell or explain how these are applicable, right? And I'm hoping I did a great job with that. I've done this over and over and over again trying to get this particular episode correct. But it's how can the communities, relationships, and experiences around the things you create help people transform, right? Second thing is you want to be thinking about how do you make high quality content, right? And I think, again, it's the communities, relationships, experiences around the content you create. I also think if you're doing thought leadership type stuff, that, again, in the context of AI and ChatGPT, it's very easy to get caught up to common knowledge, but it's really hard to play into the things that are not in the model yet. So how do you advance knowledge? How do you get those advanced insights that are not part of the common knowledge? And how often can you play in that space? Because the time for those new ideas to get incorporated in the models is going to speed up and be incorporated closer and closer to when they're created, if that makes sense. Still working on that idea, but where are you playing in the novel idea space, essentially, right? And the third thing is we need to showcase you. Like, what are you bringing to the table, your personality and values? And I'll end with one exercise that I really love called value-based metrics, right? In high-performance coaching, we do this 3-word exercise with all of our clients. And there's different ways and forms of this, but I think as content creators, you need to know what your values are, and you need to be thinking about how are you imbuing them in your content, and how are you making decisions based on your values. That's the other reason we do this 3-word exercise. But essentially, what this is if you were to pick 3 words that describe the best person you aspire to be in the world, right? That if 5 years you came back to the future and you could see them and you would describe them in these 3 words, or if your family and friends if we were to ask your family and friends, what 3 words would describe you? That they would say these 3 words and you would be very proud of it, right? And, for me, I judge everything through joy, growth, and impact, right? It's part of my coaching business, but I'm judging every piece of content or decision I'm making in my business of how much joy or fun is it bringing into my life. How am I learning, or how am I, advancing as a human being? And then how am I helping people? What's the impact of doing this, right? And so I know that if I can hit all three of those in this piece of if I can hit all three of these in this podcast, that I've created something that I'm proud of, right? And you'll get to know me a little bit more as we go along, because I actually think telling the story of this peacock and being a little bit silly with it is a lot more like me at home. And I noticed as I've been editing podcast episodes the last couple years that I've kind of taken on a content creator dialect where listening to it, I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. It doesn't feel like me. And so this is an attempt to me to kind of bring that more into these episodes. So with that said, use these words to guide your creative decisions and align your content. So if a dumb bird, and I say dumb bird because he once lost half a day looking at himself in the shiny bumper of a truck, and here's the picture on YouTube. If you're watching there, you can see this is captured. If he can grab attention without social media or hacks, so can you. But it's the real creators that crush, that back up the grab for attention with transformation. So are you aligning your content with who you really are and the impact you want to make? Because you don't need to be louder, you need to be more aligned.